Grace Lee examines past 30 years of personal and spiritual growth phases and ties it to the present era she calls the age of relationship. Any place you want movement in your life, business or personal, you're going to have some dependence on your ability to relate to yourself and with each other. Miss Lee recognizes that ultimately the practicing of the art of relationship is the key to bringing success back in our lives. Learning to have a great team around you, whether personal or business, is the goal.
The world is becoming very small. And globally, we're all learning to relate with each other. You see that happening right now. And what's interesting is the whole world have decided there is a universal relationship code. And it is English. Everybody speaks English now. English is their second language. It's not the England English, it's the American English. And the relationship code is Western etiquette. Everybody in the world is using Western etiquette, and America is considered Western etiquette. The only problem is most Americans have become too lazy to use it. Or some people aren't even trained in it. So if you go out there, it becomes a problem. Example, I was at an international dinner, and a Frenchman comes over and puts their hands out, and the American gentleman just sat there, like you're doing, everybody were, because we're sitting there having dinner. All of us weren't sure what happened because we weren't sure if he was being rude or he didn't know any better. Western business etiquette is when two men shake hands, they stand up, look each other straight in the eye, and it says, "I'm not going to kill you today." The art of social graces is the delivery system and how you relate to other people. Now, I think that social graces first impression is very important, but that's not all I deal with, because first impression will open up the door, but after that, you have to have your sixth impression, your seventh impression. And if you do not know the relationship game or the dance, you're going to be stepping on other people's toes. I like to tell you a little story about my father. I learned a lot from him. He is a black American that went to Japan right after the war as a civilian working for the American federal government to rebuild Japan. This is in the 50s and 60s. And he met my mother, who's Japanese. And during that time, the Japanese were closed off, so they never saw anybody else but Japanese. So here I come along, dark, curly-haired, and my father. People would cross the street. If I sit next to them on the bus, they would move. I was told that there's something wrong with me because I'm always dirty. You know? Well, as far as they were concerned, right? And my father and I would walk down the street one day, and I said to him, "They're staring at us again," because people would stare with their mouth open. I go, "They're staring at us again," and he says, "That's because we're good looking." And smart old me, I said, "Well, you know, you're darker than me." And I'm thinking in my head, "Well, they look at you more." and he said, "Because I'm better looking." And he goes, "Don't worry, you'll catch up." And then he said, "Watch this." And these are Japanese standing on the street, staring, their mouth open, and he would just smile at them and bow, you know, like the Japanese do, just smile and bow. And some people get embarrassed and they'd walk away, but there were some Japanese, so they'll come up and they go, "Hi, you speak Japanese?" "A little bit," you know, and they would say, "Where are you from?" They've never seen anybody like, you know, "Where are you from?" And they'll say, "Why do you paint yourself all dark like that?" And then he would say, no. He goes, it's not painted. And they said, well, and I'm translating, you know, by this time. They said, can we touch your skin? They're comfortable enough to ask. And I said, Father, that's rude. He goes, no, that's fine. Touch my skin. And they touch it, and they go, it doesn't come off. I was like totally impressed. You know, I'm like, wow. After they asked some more questions and they were starting to talk, my father was open, and they said, can you come over to our house for dinner? Which is very unusual for a Japanese to invite you to the house. I'd like for you to meet my family. I want you to meet my friends so that, you know, we can all grow. And it was very interesting because I realized that all I had to do was smile, and the social graces, because Japanese are very much into social graces. If I carried myself right, it worked. He said, humans are naturally loving and kind, and they are also very curious. So all you have to do is open up yourself. So being kind and loving and curious is just part of social graces. That's what social graces is all about. Well, thank you so much for your comment about me, your first impression of me. It always helps, because everybody sees differently. And you know, I'm dressed today as a teacher, as a speaker, but then I don't dress like that all the time. We all have a different look. So it's very nice. Now, I have a first impression of you. When you were walking into the room, I videotaped you. So I want you to take your time and look at yourself and see what kind of first impression you have been giving me and to everybody else. Here. Well, you just saw your first impression. What do you think? It's like, do-over. Do-over, yes. So from now on, we're going to practice our first impression. Coming in and out of a door, there is a proper way to come in and out of the door. So we're going to practice that. We're going to practice handshakes, because women and men do different handshakes, believe it or not. And many other things after this. Okay, we're going to practice it.